Fallout New Vegas has always been a go-to game ever since it was released. Lately, I've been feeling the need to go back, realizing it's been too long since my last playthrough. So I figured, why not make things more difficult and challenge myself this time? I started digging around for weird challenges to take on, and that's when I stumbled upon an idea I liked. Could you beat Fallout New Vegas playing as Grug? Now, this was not exactly my own idea. It was based on the Caveman Challenge. However, I did see a few people call it the Grug Run, which is my inspiration for this challenge. Playing as Grug in New Vegas was a unique challenge. I was stuck with primitive light armor and melee weapons, excluding high-tech melee weapons like the Power Fist. I was not allowed to use advanced medical items like stimpaks or chems. I had to rely on natural or campfire crafted aid items. To add another layer of difficulty, I set charisma and intelligence down to 1 and was not allowed to spec into any related skill points. I also refrained from trading with anyone because, well, I'm a masochist. I started my run by getting bombarded with more pop-ups in an adult website and then named myself Grug. I sprinted over to the machine with bright lights and sounds, being the smooth brain I am, and I picked my special points. For this run, I had charisma and intelligence set to 1. I set strength to 10 for additional melee damage, endurance to 9 for higher health and survival skill, agility to 9 for fast AP regeneration, and luck to 9 for higher critical chance. I didn't feel like perception was needed due to its association with gun accuracy, so I didn't bother. For my skill tags, I selected melee weapons for higher melee damage, survival for crafted items on a campfire, and unarmed for additional unarmed damage just in case, which I never ended up using at all. For my traits, I chose heavy-handed for the higher base melee damage and wild wasteland because why not? Before leaving Doc Mitchell's, I selected hardcore and deposited all my restricted items into the nearest bottomless pit. I left the house and got more pop-ups, then I was on my way to start the tutorial. I talked to Sunny Smiles and began the tutorial quest. Technically, I had to use a gun for this quest, but this was my only exception to the challenge. I shot the bottles down and ran back into the saloon, where it took all my might not to stick my machete up Cobb's ass. I visited the drummer of the Beatles to continue the quest, I got Sunny and returned right back to finish it. The battle started and I made easy work of everyone, which surprised me as I did not realize how strong the broad machete was. I left Good Springs and made my way towards Prim. On the way, I decided to pay Barton Thorne for a quick visit and kill them for my own satisfaction. Once I made it to Prim, I went and rescued Deputy Beagle, and then forgot to speak to him to continue his quest. I left and made my way towards the Mojave Outpost. On my way, I decided to stop by some friends to have a lovely conversation. However, it turned sour really quickly. Once we made our amends, I popped into the cell and killed the entire family of Mantis from Kung Fu Panda. After a bit more catching up with the friends, I made it to the Mojave Outpost and went to speak to Ghost for her quest. But she was frightened by my face and ran for her life. Eventually, I was able to collect her quest as well as Ranger Jackson's. I made quick work of the ants, and then made my way towards Nipton. Once I walked up to the Legion, they decided to scatter in a buggy Fallout way. I talked to Vulpes and returned to the Mojave Outpost to complete the quest. I then made my way towards Novak. In Novak, I went straight to Boone to start his quest for some easy XP. I went into the motel office, pickpocketed the safe key, and got the bill of sale. I then convinced Jeannie to join me in front of the dinosaur for an unscheduled lobotomy. After setting the main quest active for the first time, I then realized I forgot to talk to the deputy about looking for Benny. I headed straight back to Prim, but in classic Fallout fashion, the game crashed. After relaunching, I made my way back to Novak to make the journey to Boulder City. In Boulder City, I spoke to Ketchup, but due to my low speech skill, all I could do was either fight them or just leave with the information, so I chose the easier route. As I wanted to stay on good terms with the cons, I left and made my way towards New Vegas. After making it to Freeside, I circumcised the limbs of a thug and made my way into the Strip. But to get into the Strip, I needed a counterfeit passport. I wouldn't be able to do the science check on the Securitrons in front of the gate, and I wouldn't have enough caps to pass, as I was not allowed to trade, and I simply just did not have enough caps. Getting the counterfeit passport was my only option. To get the counterfeit passport, I decided to help out the Kings for the King's one favor. I went to the King to start GI Blues, pocketed the 200 caps the King gave me, and then took out Oris, barely making it out with my life. But Grug overcame. I returned to the King to let him know about Oris's death, and then got lost on the second floor for way too long. I finished the rest of the quest, got the King's favor, and then ran into Mick and Ralph's for the counterfeit passport, and made my way into the Strip to run into the Tops. Once in the tops, I met with Benny, went to the presidential suite, had a nice play date with his boys, and then made my way to Yes Man. I had decided to go for the wildcard ending as it was the quickest and easiest ending to complete. I also have never personally completed this ending before. Right away, I began the side bets quest. I ran into the White Glove Society just to talk to Mortimer. After that, I made my way to the Omertas and held back the sweet temptation of releasing their souls. Then, I made my way to Nellis Air Base to meet with the Boomers. I hugged around the cliffside and made it in to talk to their leader. After leaving, I made my way to the Brotherhood. But before I did that, I stopped by and grabbed the holotape off the corpse. I decided to stop by the RepCon headquarters to grab the second holotape. However, due to no lockpicking or hacking skills, I just took a nice tour and then left. I made my way to Hidden Valley, had a very fun meet and greet with some of Grug's fans, then proceeded to step on a landmine, which gave me a concussion. I found the Brotherhood of Steel, and they gave me this new kinky collar. All I had to do in return was do their bidding. When leaving a bunker, I saw these bark scorpions having an exclusive underground dance party. Angered that I was not invited, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I found the correct bunker and smashed the radio. The Brotherhood took the collar off of me because I had been a good girl, and then I made my way to the cons. I stopped by the old Mormon fort to get my obliterated stumps called limbs repaired, as well as to end my never-ending concussions. After leaving, I made my way to Red Canyon. I started by the North Freeside Gate as I wanted to collect food from the plants and animals, as well as kill some of the locals to repair my weapons and armor. I stopped by Howitzer Farms to collect food, stepped on a landmine, then left. I got a new rectum piercing from a friendly cazador. In need of more supplies, I decided to stop by Cook Cook's barbecue. However, it seems like I was not welcome there. After stealing Cook Cook's food, I decided to head over to Howitzer Farms as there was no campfires in Cook Cook's ruins. To continue my journey to Red Canyon, I fast traveled to the gas station nearby, only to be met with dogs deciding my thighs needed a nice teeth massage. As I embraced my role as Grug, and being a smooth brain, I fast traveled back to the same gas station again, for the same outcome to happen. I made it past the gas station and played with the wildlife, saw a bighorn having a seizure before standing awkwardly by the Red Canyon just to get the task completed. I returned to Yes Man and told him to ignore everyone as it makes everything quicker. I made my way to Cottonwood Cove and then took the boat to the fort. In the fort, I got the Platinum Chip and upgraded the Securitrons to Mark II. I returned to Caesar, crucified Benny, then dipped. Returning to the strip, I headed into the Lucky 38. I opened the antechamber, prepared with my asshole clenched. Surprisingly, I was not hit a single time. I showed Mr. House my dance moves before putting him down for a nice nap. Yes Man came in, uploaded himself to the city's network, while I watched the most annoying cutscene in the game. Once out of the cutscene, I was given the choice to help President Kimball, but decided it wasn't important, as it only makes the run longer. I was given a device to install in the El Dorado substation. I made my way there, received an empty threat, installed the device, and then left to return back to Yes Man to begin the battle of the Hoover Dam. On the Hoover Dam, I booked it to the tower and got greeted by an angry Securitron. After dealing with him, I made my way into the control room, running for my life from the NCR heavy troopers. I installed the chip and directed the power to the fort, where the Securitrons were waiting to be powered. I then proceeded to get lost for way too long before finding the switch. I made it out of the tower and made my way to the Legate's camp. Once in the camp, I took everyone out Grug style and looted the camp for food. Now before I fight the Legate, I wanted to say I had a really fun time so far. I had never decided to challenge myself in a Fallout game before and really limit my options. Playing this way had brought a new perspective to the game, one of which I have never had before. This was also the quickest I had ever beaten a playthrough. At this point, I was just shy of 4 hours into the run. However, the next 45 minutes were pure agony. The easiest way to get through the final fight is just to have a speech skill of 100, which is the route I had always taken in the past. A speech check lower than 100 could at least make the fight a 1v1, but due to the nature of this challenge, I had the speech skills of a Gen Alpha iPad kid. I had to fight the Legate with his men, knowing by the end of it, my holes will be 3 sizes too big. I started the fight, dead. I repeated this process, a rage-inducing 22 times, before I finally got the Legate low enough before he started to run away. But because all of my other playthroughs I've always completed a speech check against him, I thought I won. But unbeknownst to me, he decided to MLG in the air throwing grenades at me until he killed me for the 23rd time already. At this point, I was about ready to give up. I died 11 more times before I finally damaged Leggett enough to make him run away again. However, this time, he wasn't getting away. I knocked him down and wailed on his body with my sledgehammer. After realizing my victory, I let out a war cry. 45 minutes of pain and suffering, asking myself, can I really beat the game like this? But it wasn't over just yet. A group of his men came rushing up the hill, but I took them all out with ease. They were no match for my power as Grug. I celebrated my victory by turning the Leggett and his men's bodies into a nice tomato puree. I quickly headed to the gate where I was met by General Oliver and his men. Realizing I could not speech check him too, I decided to hide, knowing that his men were too powerful for me. I barely scraped by. I waited for my Securitron army to take out the NCR. I spoke to Yes Man and ended the game. Can you beat Fallout New Vegas as Grug? Yes, you can. I personally had a lot of fun completing this playthrough. I didn't think completing a challenge would bring a new sense of enjoyment to the game. I hope to do future challenges for not only this game, but others as well. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more content like this, and thank you for watching.